Welcome to the Behind the Screens podcast. I'm Jimmy Doherty, this is Luca Felkin, and today we're introducing Jonathan Barnett. Jonathan, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Good. Well, Luca, I believe you have a question for Jonathan.
Yeah, the first question I wanted to ask is, I wanted you to tell us a bit about yourself and the film festival.
Okay, well, we've been doing the film festival now in the local area for the past 28 years.
Yeah.
The original idea was we wanted there to be a really big festival in Portobello around carnival time, a bit like the Edinburgh Festival. So instead of having the tattoo at the Edinburgh Festival, we'd have the Notting Hill Carnival. So for 28 years, we've had a free festival in Portobello Road for 3 weeks. It's mainly film that we show, right? Yeah. And what we thought at the time was we thought some of the mainstream telly wasn't all that exciting. So we thought that we would show every single film that was submitted. That was the idea, so that it was totally inclusive and open to everybody, and films weren't going to be kind of edited by some board of people who probably never made a film in their life. Since then, it's moved from being films to showing a lot of street art as well. So we show a lot of street art, which of course Portobello is one of the main places for. So yeah, it's basically it's a film festival for everybody, especially for filmmakers who are just starting out. They need a platform for their films, and yeah, the internet's great, but it's always good to show your films to people in real life to see what sort of reaction you're going to get. So we're very happy to show low budget films. We're also very happy to show films by community groups. And we're also very, very, very happy to show short films. Yeah. So basically for 28 years, we're based in Portobello Road, and it's a free film festival, and it's mainly for sort of first-time filmmakers.
Well, Jonathan, can I ask you, is that something you still hold where you show every film that is presented?
Yeah, we try and show every film that's presented. I mean, what we sometimes have to do is the festival's on for 3 weeks, and so the films run every single night between 6 and 10:30, sort of non-stop. If we get more films sent in than we've got time to show, we have this thing called the video cafe, where we put them in a sort of list, and people can come along and ask us to put the films on the night. But that's what we try and do. There's no kind of censorship or anything like that going on.
So the film could be for any genre, it could be from any kind of community, whatever they're passionate about.
Absolutely anything. Yeah, there's no rules at all for it. You can show us anything as long as it's not sort of unpleasant or offensive, right?
You when it first started off, was it more? Did it head off straight away, or did it take a while to kind of get people interested?
Well, actually, when it started off, it was great because we didn't have the internet when it started. So these independent filmmakers didn't have any platform at all to show their films on, apart from people like us. It took off pretty well straight away, and we were lucky. We had some great people sponsoring us, as well as the council and the Arts Council and City Hall when Ken Livingstone was in charge. We had some good people sponsoring us, and so yeah, it kind of took off straight away.
Yeah. So did you have like any competition or any worries when you started out?
Not really, no, because no one else was doing what we were doing. There was another thing called the London Short Film Festival that actually started after us, that I think might have been slightly inspired by us, but that's fine. I mean, our whole mission is that there's loads of talented people out there, especially kids, making films, and they haven't got anywhere to show them in public. And the establishment isn't that friendly towards them. So we think that these films should be given a wider audience. I mean, we were quite inspired, I'm afraid, because it's a long time we've been going. There used to be this thing called punk rock and indie music, which was kind of DIY music. But it turned out for a bit that all people wanted to watch was the indie stuff rather than the mainstream stuff. So, yeah, I mean, if someone else wants to start an independent film festival, they're more than welcome to. And if they want to keep it free, they've certainly got all of our support.
Well, I was going to ask, why Portobello, particularly?
Well, we're from Portobello, basically. That's where we were. When we started out, there was a bit of money that actually, it's such a long time ago, but I mean, Portobello's been gentrified now, as you know. but it used to be a little bit run down, and there used to be riots and things. And there was some money from, I think it was Michael Heseltine, came up with this thing called City Challenge, where they were investing money in inner city areas that needed regeneration. Now, we've always been based in North Kensington rather than the posher parts, up the hill. So we got money basically for regeneration in North Kensington, based around, cultural activities.
Have you ever maybe made a film yourself and put it in the competition? Not competition, but you know what I mean?
Actually, I used to make films before I started the festival. Since the festival's gone on, I'm just showing other people's films, and it's a great pleasure. The festival was actually started by a character called Barney Platts Mills. He was another Portobello local, but he'd made a film called Bronco Bullfrog, which is a kind of a cult movie. It's a bit like sort of Ken Loach. It was all made with amateurs. But Barney was definitely into making films with what he called kids off the street. He'd worked with Joan Littlewood at the Theatre Royal in Stratford. So part of the spirit of the original festival was we wanted to show, films by kids off the street, if you like.
Yeah. So you said that you made films yourself. So what films were they? Like short films, long films?
Well, I did a few pop videos for people. I did a pop video for the Smiths.
Oh, okay.
I used to do sort of films with artists who are great people to make films with. So I just find an interesting artist and point a camera at them. So I did a lot of films with these people called the Mutoid Waste Company, who used to be based in Portobello. And what they do now is they do all the insight art design at Glastonbury. So it's basically, I was mainly just filming artists. I did do this thing with the Smiths, and I made, that's basically it. I got a bit of money from the Arts Council to make a couple of feature films, short feature films. But
yeah, so how did you get on like this line of work then, before you did the film festival, like working with artists and with like pop music and?
Well, Portobello used to be a really big place for artists and musicians. I mean, I don't live there anymore, but I moved there in 1977. And at the time, there were lots of, like, for instance, there were lots of bands there, like The Clash came from around Portobello. Bob Marley was recording all of his albums around Portobello. A lot of artists live around Portobello. I mean, the point is, it was quite a bohemian area, right? And always places where there's not a lot of money, which there wasn't around Portobello at the time, are places that attract artists, because artists haven't got a lot of money, obviously. So basically, it was just really just living around Portobello. And it was very exciting because this is, as I say, this is ages before digital. But they brought out these things called VHS camcorders, right? Yeah. And it meant that like anybody could make a film. But before they brought out this, a VHS camcorder was just like a VHS tape deck with a camera attached to it. And you could make films in it by just plugging the camera into the recorder, 3-hour films that had sound and vision. Before that, you could only technically make films, if you had like 8mm was the cheapest way of doing it with a separate sound recorder. So at the time, it looked like anyone could make films, which of course they can do now with mobile phones and computers and software and stuff like that. So that was it. Portobello was a real melting pot for artists, and it had been for some time. As I say, a lot of the hippie people like Pink Floyd and people like that started around Portobello. And then you had the punk rock, and you had the sort of acid house. And you did have painters like Lucian Freud, for instance, who used to live around Portobello. And obviously Banksy did a lot of his early work around Portobello. So it was a great melting pot, really, a great cultural melting pot, Portobello Road. So it was a good place, apart from the fact that it was local. It was a great place culturally to be working in.
What made you feel kind of like you had the responsibility to show other people's art?
It wasn't a responsibility, it was just a pleasure,
Yeah, so were you like inspired by any films, like when you're younger, to go into the film line of work?
The film that really inspired me, it was Grandmaster Flash, and it was called The Message. And the music was great. It was kind of original hip hop. But the film itself was shot on these home video recorders on the streets in New York. and there was something really sort of fresh and real about it that was, it was a kind of great relief, having seen all these films that are kind of overproduced and had loads of money behind them, and corporate people doing them, and a lot of them seem to have been done by committee. So I would say, yeah, Grandmaster Flash. I mean, if you get a chance to look at it, The Message by Grandmaster Flash, it probably looks a bit ropey and unprofessional now, but at the time it was really exciting.
So you like more of like the real films then?
Absolutely, yes, really, yes. But like with the festival, we show everything. It doesn't have to be real. It's just that if someone's done something on a low budget, it tends to be real just by the necessity of its own creation.
Because they had a passion enough to do it regardless of the budget.
Absolutely. It's films that are made by people with a bit of passion. It's not being made for money. It's not being made, because you want to get a job as a runner at the BBC, although you might want to. But they're films that, people are inspired, and they've certainly got the tools now with the digital stuff. You can make a whole film for next to nothing. So all you need to be is if you've got the inspiration and learn your craft, or maybe you've just got it naturally. So yeah, that's what the festival's really about. It's about young people who want to make a film on a budget of nothing.
Is there usually a winner?
Yeah, we've got these things called the Golden Trellick Awards, right? Yeah. So basically, there are winners. I mean, a lot of people don't think we should be, kind of competitively, but people quite enjoy it. So we get like local artists to make or draw a golden trellick for us, and we have the award ceremonies at the Gate Cinema.
And the most recent winner, what was their project about?
The most recent winner, I think it was a film called 1000 Guitars. And it was a guy who'd spent like 30 years just going around interviewing like famous guitarists and asking them about their guitars.
It was a project 30 years in the making.
Yeah.
That should have won.
And we had another nice film that almost got the prize. That was this lady called Erin Pitsey, who started the first ever refuge for women who'd been beaten up by their husbands. This was years ago. Again, look at her on the internet, Erin Pitsey, and it was a film, and it had Joanna Lumley in it saying how wonderful she was. And that basically there's quite a lot of refuges now for abused wives and things, but there weren't so many when she started it. So she'd started that a few years ago. So we had a documentary about her as well. We also have a lot of foreign films at the festival because you can submit films you submit films by going onto our website and filling in the entry form and then basically just sending us a downloadable link.
Is there a runtime kind of limit?
No, it can be short, it can be long.
Oh.
From my personal point of view, I like shorts, and also I think the short is an art form, is that you can distill all of your creativity and all the things that you believe in with your film and everything that you want to say into a short film. You don't want to bore people with a film. One of the best films we ever had was this guy. He'd write a whole film script, for a long 90-minute film, and then he'd work out which the best bits were, and he'd just film the best bits, and that was the whole film. So it lasted about 20 minutes. So personally, I quite like short films, but we'll show anything basically.
So let's say you were maybe 16 years old and you wanted to get into the film industry, and you wanted to submit a film into this festival. Is there a certain criteria that you have to tick off? How would you mark it to win the competition?
All you have to do, as I say, is just send us the film, fill in the entry form, send us the film with a downloadable link. And it's as simple as that, In terms of the films that win it, I have to say a lot of it is based on audience reaction. This isn't on a phone. This is actually something that people come in and watch. So really, we don't really judge so much who's going to win it. It's more down to the film that's on and what sort of audience reaction it gets, So, and we don't know what's going to get a good audience reaction or not. It's different films at different years. But no, we've had films by people who've had 16. We've had films by people who are younger. We've had films, but people have made films with toys and things. Little kids have made films with toys and things, and we've shown them. So there's absolutely no criteria. There's no rules or anything. You know, if you just want to send us the film in, we'll watch it, we'll try and screen it, and that's it, basically.
Well, Luca and I are filmmakers. This is the kind of thing we're trying to get into, and we do have, we hope, somewhat of a team to try and make a film. Hopefully, sometime in the spring. Do you think we could even, upload it to your website for then? Because I was going to ask also, what like time of year is this this actual festival? Like, is it this year or is it already gone?
Yeah, no, the festival's it's in the 3 weeks after Carnival, basically, which is basically it's about the first 3 weeks in September. And any minute now, we are going to be putting on our website, which is portobellofilmfestival.com. There's a link there to the entry form, and all you have to do is just send the film in on the entry form. You don't upload it onto our website. You just send a downloadable link for us that we can then program in September into the festival. So yeah, we'd show it. Of course we would.
So if entries are open from, let's say it's February now, for what, 7 months, do you imagine you're going to get like a lot of applications?
Yes, we do. Yes.
And how would you manage to show that in the span of 3 weeks? That's what, because obviously in the past you were able to show all of them. But now with the internet, it's easier to upload them. People are easier to make films.
So we're just showing the films that people send in, right? Yeah,
Do you think nowadays people have lost that realism to films, and now it's all like Hollywood and like all this like VFX and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I actually personally think that at the moment that films aren't that bad. I mean, I think that, which is probably absolute heresy, but I think that Netflix is pretty good. I think some of the films on Netflix aren't bad at all. Well, and all the streaming channels. I do think that the terrestrial channels have lost it a bit. But basically, no, I think film's pretty good at the moment. There's some good mainstream films being made. And as I say, a lot of the Netflix stuff is quite interesting. That they have a lot of interesting directors and different and interesting actors working on it. We've had some of our filmmakers have ended up getting their stuff onto Netflix. So at the moment, I think that it's quite a healthy scene, the film scene, really, yeah.
But I was going to ask if there's anyone, prominent in the film industry today that maybe you've worked with in the past, or maybe that's even sent to your film festival.
Yeah, quite a lot, actually. I mean, Guy Ritchie started off with us, believe it or not. He had a short film that he wrote called The Hard Case, that was very similar to Lock, Stock, that we showed very early on at the film festival. Sarah Gavron, who made Suffragette, we were showing her films when she was at the National Film and Television School. I mean, I would say for young filmmakers, if you're really serious, you should try and get into the National Film and Television School. Not so much the London Film School, but the National Film and Television School. It's really good. So we had early stuff by Sarah Gavron. We had some early stuff by Shane Meadows, who makes kind of street type films. So yeah, we've had quite a lot of people who've started off with us. And also since we've been going, we've had quite a lot of support from people in the industry who appreciate what we're doing, which, as I say, is we're dealing with the fringes, we're dealing with new talent, and we're giving it a platform.
Yeah, so obviously there's like the academic route and then the other route of just getting work experience and just working for people. Do you think it's better to go to the academic route of going like, obviously there's like colleges like LSA and there's like what you were talking about, NFTS as well. Do you think that's better in the long term of getting a like high paying job and like actually making films you like with a high budget?
Tell you what, I think it's down to whether you've got the talent or not, really. I mean, I think it helps if you're taught things, like lighting and sound and things like that. But really, I think it's down to whether you've got belief and faith in it, and whether you've got the talent. I think it's a good idea to be prolific, just make loads of films, especially it doesn't cost anything to make a film now. So, if you are just starting out, just make loads of films. I mean, there's two things you can do. You can go down the documentary route, which is the easiest one, right? Which is, well, how I started out, where you just find someone who's interesting, whether it's somebody in a band or, I don't know, an artist or whatever, or even some sort of political activist or whatever, right? Yeah. And you just point a camera at them, and you get them to talk, and see what they're doing. That's the easiest way to make it. Now, the more difficult one is to do something like, music video isn't too difficult to do. Obviously, you don't have to worry about sound because the sound's already been recorded. So you just get you just do something visual that you think suits it. What is more difficult is if you try and do something with a story like a drama, in which case you do need actors. You don't necessarily need a script. I mean, a lot of dramas are improvised, right? But as a rule, I think it helps having a script. I mean, I don't think you want to bore people. You want to engage them and do something that's really interesting. I mean, I think it's great if you can make people laugh, right? For instance, I mean, that's terrific. But it's more difficult doing, a drama or something, which maybe getting taught would help you with some of the aspects of it. But it's always a possibility. As I say, if you've got a camera, if you've got a phone, you've got some sort of really basic sort of editing facility on your computer, just go out and do stuff, and you'll probably find the more that you do, the better that you'll get at it.
Well, I will ask this, Jonathan, before we wrap it up. Is there kind of any notes or words of advice you would give to a young filmmaker who's genuinely passionate about it but doesn't know where to start?
I would guess I would experiment. If you've got a phone, I would experiment with having a go at making some films on your phone, right? Just to get started.
Jonathan, I'm going to wrap it there. Thank you so much for joining this Zoom.
Thanks for having me.
I know you can't see me, but I am here. But thank you for watching. Luca, any final notes?
Yeah, thank you for watching, as Jimmy said.
And that's it.